Okay, just to summarize, you have a nice summary over here. We saw yesterday Machlokas Rav and Shmuel. And we had Machlokas exactly where the Machlokas Rav and Shmuel was. Between Abaya, Rab in the Havamina, and Rab in the Maskana. That, again, the case is you Makadish a woman on the condition that she not be a Nadronis, that she not have Nidarim. But that was the Erison. But when you did the Nesuin, you didn't mention anything. B'shas Nesuin, you did not mention anything. And according to Baya, if you make a mistake by two women, even by two women, you'd have Machloikas. Rab would say you still need a get, and Shmuel would say you don't need a get. That's the case of two women. You were Makadish one woman on a Tanai, and you did Nesuin on the other woman Stam. Do we say that Stam on the other woman is the Gili Milsa, is it Regala, right? The first wife, what you expect from the second wife, that just like the first one you were makbid on the Darim, so to the second one you were makbid on the Darim? Or do we say no? Do we say each one is a separate entity? Rav says no. We're makbid with Regala on the first one, and Shmuel says no, and you do not need a get because just because the first one needed a get does not mean the second one. According to Rabbi in the Havamina, everyone says you need a get. Because why? Because maybe the second one is more dear to you. Even in the Maskana, he would say the same thing. Even in the Maskana, he would say you don't need a get. Why? Because just because you were makbid on the first woman that she not be a Nadronis, there's no hakpada on the second one. Benji, we're just going over yesterday's Gemara. You have the chart on the screen. So you have and now what happens if you that's in one woman. That's in one woman, excuse me. What I told you is in one woman. In two women, everyone would say you need a get, according to Abaya. According to Rabbi, you would still have the same machlokes. And the Maskana, that Rabbi wasn't speaking about two women, it was speaking about one woman that was similar to two women. Meaning you divorced her, you married on the condition, you divorced her, and then you remarried her. And the second marriage, you didn't say anything. Rav says you do need a get because the second marriage is a new marriage. It's not this galab in the first one. Shmuel says what ain't it strichen and a get. What came out from Rabba is that if you have kaddish on the Tanai, you keep the Tanai. In other words, he says that you do have to keep the Tanai, and if the Tanai is not kept, you do not need a get because you were never married in the first place. So we're picking it up on Ayin Dalid Amid Aleph. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down. Itmanami, we also learned in a brisa. Itmanami Amar Rabbi by Yaakov. Okay. Itmanami Amar Rav Acha by Yaakov, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar Rabbi Yochanan, so it's not a brisa. Amakadesh al Tanai. If someone makes a kedushin on a Tanai, Erison on a Tanai, Ubal, and then there's Nesuin, Divrei HaKol, everyone's of the opinion, Ein et tzrichi menu get, you do not need a get. One woman, again, the machloikis is only by one woman came to a woman. That would be the machloikis in our Mishnah. But one woman, if you don't keep the Tanai, you do not need a get, you were never married in the first place. It's a kedushay tois. Okay, now we're going to question that. We're going to question that. You say that if you make a Tanai, ain't it shichem and a get, I'll show you not like that. Esirei. Esirei Rav Acha berei de Rav Ika bar Achte. So Rav Acha, the son of Rav Ika, the son of the Barach of Berei, the son of Rav Ache, who was the daughter of his sister. Chalitza mutois. A chalitza that was a mistaken mechitza. Chalitza. It's a good chalitza. It's a good chalitza. Chalitza mutas is a good chalitza. Okay, let me just.
It was really true this week. The kiddush was outside. It was after it was great. So good outside.
Oh. Okay, Len, we're up to Ayin Dalid Amid Aleph. Ayin Dalid Amid Aleph. We're a quarter of the way down. It says the word Esivei Chalitza Mutais. It says the word Chalitza Mutais. The first word in the line is Achte. I'd say it's about 10 lines down. On Ayin Dalid Amid Aleph. We're questioning the concept that if you made a condition and on a kedushin that your wife is not a nadronis and she turns out to be one who makes vows, whether you need a get or not, whether it's a bekach tois, whether you bought a bill of goods. So everyone, you bought a brisa that everyone says you bought you did buy a bill of goods, and you don't need that. Give a get. So Eser, we're questioning that. Eser Ravacha Breda Avika Barachte Chalitza Mutois. A chalitza that's a mistaken chalitza, kshera would be kasha. Ezi chalitza mutois. What exactly is a chalitza of mistake that would be a good chalitza? Amreish Lakish kol she'oim eloi, right? He says to him, chalitzla. The Bezdin says to him, give her a get, ubekach ata koinsa. And with that, you are going ahead and you are taking her in. So you think you're being miyam and you're being chalitza. Rabbi Yochanan, Ani Shaina, I learned, Bench Niskaven Hu, Velen Niskaven He, whether he has kavanah for chalitza, she doesn't. Bench Niskaven Hu, Velen Niskaven He, Velen Niskaven Hu, she has kavanah, doesn't. Chalitza psula. The chalitza will be possible. Won't keep chalitza actually skavnu shneyam until they both have the right kavanah. So the amachilatza k'sheira, and you think this is a good chalitza where he thinks he's doing yibum? That's not obviously a good case of chalimut mutais. So Elo, what's a case of chalitza mutais? With a chalitza with a condition. Elo Amr Rabbi Yochanan, kol she'oim eloi, you say to him, chalitzla, give a chalitza, al menashe titin l'chom etayim zuz. You know, be chalitza on the condition that she gives you 200 zuz. Good. So you're doing chalitza on a condition. Chalitza on the condition that you give 200 zuz. So what do we see? That this is a good chalitza. Now, why is it a good chalitza? She didn't give the 200 zuz. She didn't give the 200 zuz, correct? Yet it's a chalitza despite the fact you didn't fulfill the tanai. Says the Gemara, Alma, what do you see? Kivin the avad maisa, since what? You do the act of chalitza, achule achle l'tanoi. He must have been moichel the tanoi. Taisus speaks out that, how do you know he's moichel? Maybe he's not moichel. Taisus speaks out, have minute Gemara, that you'd have to mention the Tanai at the time of the completion. You have to mention at the time that he gives the chalitza, you have to mention, and give me 200 zuz. Obviously, he didn't mention it. The fact he must be Michael, if he didn't mention it. So, Hachanami, Kivin the Baal, over here, why don't we say the same thing? When he gave her a Kiddushin Erisin on the condition that she's not a Jadronis, when he goes ahead and lives with her, Stam, and doesn't mention it, so just like over there by chalitza, it's a good chalitza. Who had din over here by kiddushin? It should be a good kiddushin. So it seems to be a very, very nice parallel. The chalitza was on a condition. If the condition wasn't fulfilled, it's still a good chalitza. So the kiddushin was given on a tanai. Even though the kiddushin was not fulfilled, the tanai wasn't fulfilled. It's b'shas the nisuin, the second stage. It should be a good nisuin. And again, with Taisus Hesber, since you didn't mention anything by the chalitza about 200, it's mashma yemaichel. Who had been over here where he was kindness, so he gave Nisuin stam. He did a biyat stam by the fact that he didn't reiterate his tanai. He didn't reiterate his tanai. It must be that what? That he's Michael. So therefore, what do you say? Carte blanche across the board. You say everyone's of the opinion. Then what? That you have to go ahead and you don't need to get that since the tanai wasn't filled, it's not kedushin. Why do you say that? Avrami, we're up to ayin dal and amid aleph. We're a little past the halfway point. So hachanami by kedushin the ball achuli achli tanai. So amalei barbe rab, they said in the yeshiva, shapa ka'amra. You think you're saying well. You're making a comparison between chalitza and between kedushin. Okay, one more time. L'kabed Avrami Baranka. We said yesterday that a person gives kedushin to Erison on the condition that she's not an Adranis. Then he goes ahead and he marries her. He goes ahead and he lives with her. Stam, and he doesn't mention anything. Everyone would admit that there's not, that you don't need to get, because since the Tanai wasn't fulfilled, she's an Adranis, that there's no kedushin, therefore you don't need to get. We're asking from chalitza. You gave a chalitza on the condition that she gives you 200. When you do the mice of chalitza, she doesn't do the 200. It's a good chalitza. So we're asking, what's the difference between chalitza and kedushin? Why by chalitza do we say it's good chalitza? Over here, we don't say it's good kedushin. We should say the same thing. We should say that since he didn't mention anything b'shas nisuin, b'shas konsa, he didn't reiterate the tanai. It must be that He's Michael. Now, Mari's Gemara is asking, how can you possibly compare chalitza to kedushin? What's the kasha? Let's give you a little foreshadow. We all know, or we should know, that any condition has to be similar to the condition of Tanai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain in the parashas Matos Maseh. It says that when the Ruvain and Gad and Chatzi Shevet Menashe, they wanted to settle in Eber Hayarden. They didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael. They had a lot of livestock. The land was lush there. They wanted to stay there. And Moshe made a condition. When could you get this land? If you go ahead and you go into Eretz Yisrael and fight, you can't avoid the fight. You fight to conquer the land of the Zion Umayis. And not only that, you go chamushin, you go in the forefront. Then if you do that, if you fulfill that condition, then what? Then you will get the land. So one of the things we learn out there is you need a Tanai Kafel. You need that. If you do it, you'll get it. If you don't do it, you won't. Another thing, and this is what's Nageya us, it has to be a Tanai that can be fulfilled al Yidei Shliach. Who made this condition? Moshe Rabbeinu. Who fulfilled it? Yeshua. Moshe never made it to Eretz Yisrael. Yeshua is the one who fulfilled it. So in order for a condition to be fulfilled, it has to be done al Yidei Shliach. Right? The Gemara, Chalitza can't be done al Yidei Shliach. Chalitza can't be done al Yidei Shliach. Since Chalitza can't be done al Yidei Shliach, the whole Tanai of the 200 was bottled to begin with. There was no Tanai. And that's why it's Kasha. It's not Kasha because he's Michael the Tanai. It's Kasha because there is no Tanai. It doesn't fulfill the condition of Tanai. There's no Tanai. Masha'en came by Kedushin, where she's not an Adronis, there is a Tanai. And therefore it's not comparable. Fred says the Gemara, how could you go ahead and compare the two? Amalei, Babe Rab. Shapek ha'amet. You see this? You're saying the right thing. And in fact, what? The comparison to Chalitza to Kedushin, Michti. Kol Tanai mehecha gamrinon. Where do we learn Tanai from? Tanai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain. We learn it out from b'nei Gad and b'nei Ruvain. Tanoi de'efshel l'kiyumei al yidei shliach. A Tanai that you can fulfill al yidei shliach. Ki hasam, like over there, have a Tanai. Tanai de'lo efshel l'kiyumei al yidei shliach. A Tanai that you can't fulfill yidei shliach ki hasam, like over there, lo have a Tanai. So therefore, it's not a kasha. Your whole kasha was predicated upon chalitza to kedushin. Chalitza, there's no Tanai. By kedushin, there is a Tanai. Okay, Fred the Gemara kasha v'habia d'li'efshel l'kiyumei al yidei shliach ki hasam v'kohavi Tanai. 1 second. We've been doing the sugya. What did he do? He gave it Erisin, and then he was Mekadesh, and then he did Nesuin. Nesuin was Ayudei Bia. Also, Erisin can be Ayudei Bia. Bia can't be fulfilled at Tanai. So why do we say the same thing? Maybe since this Bia can't be accomplished Ayudei Shliach, only the individual, there should be no Tanai, and therefore it should be a good Kedushin, and therefore you should need what? A get. And for the Gemara, Hasam Mishum the Iske Shavayas Ladadi. We all know there are 3 ways for a woman to get Kedushin. Kesef, Shtar, and Bia. Kesef clearly can be done al Yidei Shliach. Shtar can be done al Yidei Shliach. Bia can't. But since we're speaking about the realm of Kedushin, since the realm of Kedushin can be done al Yidei Shliach, Huadin Bia would be in the category of Tanai. Nimsa, you have a good kasha. The Chalitza versus Bia. So Chalitza you avoided the kasha, right? Chalitza is out, and there, of course, there was no Tanai. But over here, since there's a Tanai, but according to Rabbi, any Tanai that Divrei Yaakov would say that you don't need, if you don't fulfill the Tanai, you would not need a get. Rav Ula bar Abba, Ula, Rebbe Laza. Again, we're going to have a different sheet. This Hamikadesh b'milva ubal. Some is Mekadesh, a woman with milva, and then has bia. So he does erisin with a milva, ubal, al tanai. Some is Mekadesh al tanai, like that you're not an adronis, ubal. The pachas mishava pruta, ubal. Pachas mishava pruta, the viakol tzriching men get. Everyone would say you need a get. So obviously he's arguing on the sheet of Rabbi Yochanan that we just said, right? He's saying you would need a get. Okay, let's go through the 3 cases. Hamikadesh Memilva. Guys, take a look at me outside. It's a very hard sugya in Kedushin. It works like this. A man goes ahead and lends a woman money, lends her $1 million. Now it goes ahead and says, listen, I want to marry you. I'm Michael the Chayiv. You do not have to pay me the $1 million. So you would think she's getting $1 million, right? That's a great, that seems to be giving her a very generous amount of money. You're giving her a lot of money, and you would think ostensibly that it's good kedushin. And the halacha is it's not good kedushin. I'll tell you why. There's two ways to look at a halva. One, I lent it to you. The money is by you, and you owe me the money. Therefore, when I'm a kaddish you, I'm giving you something. That's one way. Or no, milva is lohit sonitna. I give it to you. It's your money. You do anything you want with it. When you repay me, you're not repaying my money that's by you. You're repaying me totally new money. So therefore, if you are Michael Achayiv, if you go ahead and say you don't owe me anything, Nimsa b'shas kedushin, you did not give her anything. Plus milva lohit sonitnu. Milva is once you gave her $1 million, that's her money. And then if you're Michael it, there's nothing to be Michael. It's not, you're not giving her anything at this time because it's her money. If it was your money, then you'd be giving her something. It's not your money. She has a chayiv, but it's not your money. Mimela, if you have Mekadesh min milva, it's Eina Mekudeshes. So now, Mekadesh min milva boil. So we're going to say a person is Mekudeshes because we're going to say the bia is not go, is the bia is the kedushin. Ein adam bilas abilas nus. The bia has nothing to do with the erisin of kedushin. Mekadesh b'tanai is our case. You give Mekadesh her on a tanai that she's not an adronis. You boil her, stam. Again, ein adam bilas biznos. You would need a get. Mekadesh pachas mishava puta. We know the minimal amount of bat is a shava puta. Therefore, your kedushin that you gave a shava puta is nothing. The act of bia you do it afterwards, that's the bia man who gets. So this shita that you need to get is because the bia is the kedushin, right? Because the first three things, whether it's a milva or it's a tanai or it's pachas shava puta, that doesn't work. So this is the shita of Rebbe Laza. Let's see it one more time. Amar Ula bar Abba Amar Ula Amar Rebbe Laza says of Ula the son of Abba Amar Ula Amar in the name of Rebbe Laza Hamakadesh Ula boil Al Tanai uboil the Pachas Mishava Puta boil the Vriya Kol Tzrichi Menu get. Everyone would hold you need to get. Why? Because the bia that you did is the kedushin. I guess they hold that a person not boil bilas nus, right? I guess that would seem to be the svara. Yeah, very good. That's good. Okay, continues the Gemara. Rav Yosef says Rav Yosef bar Abba Rav Menachem Rav Ami Hamikadesh b'shapachim shav pruta ubal tzrichim menu get mashma, but the other one's not mashma at Tanai and Milva you would not need to get. Over there, a person doesn't make a mistake and think that he's Mekudeshes in the first place. In other words, fellas, he did two actions over here. Guys, look at me. He did two actions over here. He did one action of Erison that has a problem with it, be it the Milva, be it the Tanai, be it not enough money. Then he does an act of Bia, which itself can be Kedushin, right? So, if you view, he knows unequivocally that this, and this doesn't work, and a person's not going to make his bia, stama bia's nus, then this is a good kedushin and you need to get. Conversely, if he mistakenly thinks that this does work, then when he did this, he's not being boiler for a new kedushin. He's being boiled on the smach, on that what? This is my wife already. It's my wife, right? So those three things, Rebbe Laz is saying, everyone knows it doesn't work, whether it's the milva or the tanai or the money. The lack of money doesn't work. Therefore, it's a new kedushin. Comes along Rav Ami and says no. Says by mekadesh b'shava pruta, then it doesn't work. Then we know that a person is alamdin enough to know that, you know what, I know that's not going to do the job. It's my act of bia that does the job. So you need to get in the bia. Masha'en came milva and madronis. No, he would think that the bia is going on that, and therefore he would not need to get because he doesn't have kavana to go ahead and be mekadesha with the bia, right? So Amrav Kahana Mishmei De'ula HaMekadesh Al Tanai. In other words, this, if you're Mekadesh, I think the svar is, that person's a big lamdin. He thinks that the Tanai was a good Tanai. He thinks that that milva, he thinks he's giving us something. The chiddush by milva is that you're not mekudeshes. Anyone here, if I would woke you up in the middle of the night and told you that he's Michael $1 million, you all would have said, of course she's mekudeshes. So of course he's not so learned enough to know he's not. So the bia is what based upon that. So now, Amrav Kahana Mishmei De'ula HaMekadesh Al Tanai Ubo Tzrichi Menu Get. He disagrees. He says disagrees with Ula. In this case, he says you wouldn't need a get. Okay, so therefore the kedushin that you give on a tanai is in fact a good kedushin, and you need a get. However, lafuke may high tana. Lafuke this tana. The Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Mishum Rabbi Yishmael. Okay, so we had this Gemara, guys. What's the case? We know this case of an isha slaita. She's not forced, she's warned, she's behind closed doors with a specific individual. She stays behind those closed doors for a bia, and she has to go to she's a suffix saita, she goes to the Beis Hamikdash, she goes through the ordeal of the saita. And a woman who was forced, then she doesn't. There's another woman who wasn't forced, who's not an isha saita. Who is that? A woman that got married on a condition, and she had a child with this man, and turned out that the condition wasn't fulfilled. Now, if she's with another man, right? She's with another man, she's still not passed to her husband, because even though she wasn't forced, the Tanai wasn't a Tanai, so she was never married to the first guy. So that's the rye we want to extrapolate from here. Says the Gemara, the Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Mishum Rabbi Yishmael, Behilain is fasa, she was not forced. Asura, 100 fasa, if she was forced, muteres. However, there's another woman that even though she was not forced, muteres, should be mutter to her husband. Ve'ezu, who's this? Shekidushe toys. That you went ahead, you makadisha, and turned out that she had either mumim or she had nedarim upon her. It's not a good kedushin, so you don't need to get. Shafilu bina mukeves al kseifa. Even if a child is on her shoulders, she had a child from that husband. Nonetheless, she leaves that husband by leches, and she goes with another man, and she will be permitted to go back to the other husband. Why? Because she's not considered a saita. Okay, Tan Rabbana, new Gemara. Hocha eitzel chacham be'etira. Let's say you made a neder that she's an adranis. You made a neder that she's an adranis, and she turns out to be an adranis. But she goes to a chacham, and the chacham takes off the nedarim. Again, what's the svara why an adranis doesn't work? We saw the Gemara earlier, because perhaps her children will die. We said that, women in childbirth, the children die if a woman doesn't keep a nedarim. Now, let's say the woman took off a nedarim, so then there's no reason for them not to stay married. So she goes to a chacham, beitira mikudeshes. Then it's good kedushin. Eitzel roife, and this is the case of mumen. Guys, mekadesh al tonight, there's no mumen, and turns out there are. V'ripoy I saw, and he cures her of the mumen. Eina mikudeshes. Then you're not mikudeshes. So we want to know what's the difference. By nedarim, where the chacham takes them off, she is mikudeshes. That was a tanai. We had a tanai about mumen, where the roife cures her, and she's what? And she is not mikudeshes. So ma bein chacham leroife. Chacham oiker es haneda meikara. The chacham, he uproots the neda from its source, meaning she never was an adra. There never was a neda there. So guys, let's go through the lashon. A guy is mekadesh isha on the condition that she doesn't have nedarim. Guess what? She doesn't have nedarim. She doesn't have nedarim. But the chacham does. He retroactively goes ahead and erases all nedarim, so they were never there. However, the roife, but the doctor, when he cures her, it's only not retroactively, it's only now. So when he was mekadesh on the condition that there wasn't any mumim, there were mumim. The mumim aren't there now. Great, he could be mekadesh again. But you can't go ahead and say they're married based upon the original Kedushin, because the Tanai of the original Kedushin was not uprooted. At the time he was Mekadesha, that she had no mumim, she had mumim. I didn't know mumim now. The no mumim now is now, but not from the time he was Mekadesha. That's the difference between the two. That's the svara of Rav Meir. Further, the Gemara of Tanya, Eitzel Chacham v'Hetira, Eitzel Roife v'Ripa, Isa, Eina Mekudeshes. So you say even by the Chacham who takes off in the Dorim, she's not Mekudeshes. So we have a stira in Brises. One says the Chacham who takes it off, she is Mekudeshes, and one who says she's not. What's the difference? Amarava like Kasha, it's not a problem. Reb Meir, Reb Elazar. One is the Shita of Reb Meir, and one's the Shita of Reb Elazar. Like Reb Meir, she will be Mekudeshes. Like Reb Elazar, she won't be Mekudeshes. Let's meet Reb Meir and Reb Elazar. Dama Adam Roitze Shetizvaze Ishtay Bebezdin. Reb Meir is of the opinion, you know what? It's going to be an embarrassment for my wife to come to Bezdin to be matan and neder, but I don't care. So since she doesn't care, therefore she will come to Bezdin and take off the neder and be mekudeshes because it'll be uprooted. And her Rebbe Lazar, the Brisa that the Omar ain't adam moitza shetisvaza ish to be Bezdin. That a person will not want his wife to come to Bezdin, and therefore she's not going to come to Bezdin and she won't take off the neder. And that's the one that says ain't mekudeshes. The second Brisa is Rebbe Lazar. So Maichi, where's this machlokes? That none. Someone divorces his wife because she has nedarim on her. Lo yachzer, you shouldn't take her back, right? Ishum shemra, lo yachzer, you shouldn't take her back. Okay, so now we want to make the following: if a guy is going to and be able to take his wife back, right? It seems to be. We want to make sure that he knows what he's getting into. Let's see Rashi over here. Rashi says lo yachzir. Mefarish mesech begitten. Trey tiny. There's two reasons. Ikulam an yomim mishum kilkula. Shemata oimer yachzer. If you tell the husband, listen, you could take your wife back if you divorce her. Shema telech b'tinasei. She'll go and marry somebody else. V'nimsa shemra she'ena shemra. And you find out, you know what? The neder was not a neder. The shemra was not a shemra. And he says, heavens to Betsy. Had I known that, I never would have divorced her. Thus, nullifying his divorce. The kilkel now, she's married to another guy. So what do we tell him? If you divorce your wife, guys, no backsies. You can't take her back. We want to avoid a kilkel of a second marriage that he's going to go ahead and retroactively say never took place. So therefore, we say, lo yachzer, you can't take her back. You can't take her back. And no, you can't take her back because we want to avoid the possibility of him retroactively saying, oh no, I never would have divorced if I knew there was the neder was not a neder, or the what, or the shemra, the rumor that she was involved illicitly isn't true. Had I known Rashi, I'm reading Rashi, she came who? I feel nicely may a money, even they would have given me a money. Lo yisi megash. I went to divorce her. Lefikach, I mean, like we tell him, have your day. Listen up, Yankel. Yankel, listen up. Shamaitzi es ishtay mishum shemra, I mishum neder. Lo yachser. You can't. There's no backsies. The im chavivahi elecha, and if she's there to you, lo timar lo yitzia. Don't be so quick to go ahead and divorce her because you're not getting her back. The Asi sula kalkal, and now if he wants to be makalkal, loy him, then he's not believed. Show you a love. In other words, and if afterwards he says, "Oh, had I known," we're not going to believe him because we warned him, so we're not going to believe him. V'loy chosh lived like es hadavar to see whether it's true, whether she was involved with somebody else or not. That was one reason. This is a warning to the woman. You know what? Your husband didn't get divorced and he's not going to take you back. So therefore, those are two reasons why lo yachzer. So now we're going to somehow bring this into Gemara. So now Rabbi says a woman be mevazim in Bezdin. Rabbi says a woman be mevazim in Bezdin. And where's did we see that a woman because he divorces his wife mishum neder lo yachzer mishum shemer lo yachzer. Rabbi Yehuda Omer call it depends. Call neder sheyeh de barabim any neder that you can't do hafara lo yachzer. Then what? that any neder that you can't take off, lo yachzer, then you can't. Lo yodu b'rabim, any neder that's not known to Rabbim, yachzer you could. But may oimer kol neder should tzarech hakiras chacham lo yachzer. Any neder that needs hakiras chacham lo yachzer, which ain't tzarech hakiras chacham yachzer. Right. Says, let's see Rashi on that. Ramei oimer kol neder should tzarech hakiras chacham she'ein abal yachal lahafer. In other words, there's two ways to go for neder, either through the husband or the bezdin. The baal is not able to do it because it's not something that's between him or inay nefesh. Lo yachzer. Why? Because of a time he says the reason is kilkul. Hilkach b'ha ikka kilkul. There's a kilkul over here because he would have said ili yisi there that it could have taken it off. Lo yisi magashicha. The right so yishish tezvaza bebezdin. I want it to be mevaza in bezdin vayutiru lecha. So again, he holds the reason else kilkul. That what? That maybe he's going to say, had I known better. Hilkach. Where there is a kilkul to worry about kilkul, the oimer if he could have said ilo yisi adeya the chacham yachal hatiroi lo yisi megaticha. The right so yishi could. In other words, he says the following: had I known a chacham could take it off, I never would have made the neder. So obviously he holds that a woman would go to Bezdin to have it taken off. What we want to prove, guys, is that Ramey would say a woman go to Bezdin. So we want to avoid that. So had he said the following, had I known that this neder could have been taken off by a chacham, right, then I never would have made the neder in the first place. Obviously, he must hold that the possibility exists for the neder to be taken off by a chacham. In order for the neder to be off by a chacham, it has to be that what? She would go to Bezdin. And therefore we see Rabbi Meir says would be mevaza. However, Rabbi Lazar says, Rabbi Lazar is of the opinion that no. Says Rabbi Lazar, okay, I think we'll stop over here. I have to look into this a little better. Okay, so I just wanted to get in before I get on a plane, but I wanted we'll just